Hey y'all, this is High Priestess Tana, and I'm back to talk about the magical energy around Belle and its history and some backstory and folklore. So I want to continue talk about that stone idol, right, that I was discussing in the last video. Uh, it basically with this stone idol, it said that it was worshipped by Michigan Indians. It's said to have been destroyed by French priests in 1760, and the idol was reportedly smashed and thrown into the Detroit River, where it was believed to have reformed as a giant snake to protect Native Americans. And this idol was also associated with the legend about a beautiful daughter of a Native American chief who was initially placed in a boat on a river, then moved to Belle Isle and protected by snakes. So I thought that was interesting. And also, basically from what I was picking up too, and it says the winds caused mischief. So the god moved her to Belle, originally known as Rattlesnake Island, and surrounded her boat with rattlesnakes. Because from my understanding, according to my research, there was a high amount of rattlesnakes on the island before the French came there, from my understanding, or European settlers in general, even the British and stuff as well. Um, so let's see. I want to talk about that Rattlesnake Island aspect. That was interesting. So let's see. One second. So, yes, that's true. So, Belle Isle was once known as Rattlesnake Island due to the abundance of snakes, including rattlesnakes, being found there. And people said that um, those snakes protected the island, and from Europeans and unwanted visitors and energies and stuff. But from what I was picking up, it was something else um that I wanted to. Oh yeah, eventually over time it was known as Hog Island, or Ile au Cochon. So that's because once the European settlers, especially I want to say like the French and stuff, started to settle there, they used pigs as livestock, and I mentioned that in part one as well. So eventually, over time, um, the pigs started to control like the population, like the population, livestock population or animal population or whatever, over the snakes. So it went from being Rattlesnake Island, even Swan Island at one point, to Pig Island, or I mean Hog Island, actually. Well, hog, pig, whatever. Because I'm thinking also cochon mean pork as well in French, if I recall correctly. So that's why it ended up changing its name from Rattlesnake Island, even Swan Island in some instances, to Hog Island. So let's go to how did it get the name Belle Isle. So as you know, Belle Isle started, actually it was renamed in the 1840s, I believe 1845, in honor of Isabella Cass, daughter of Michigan Governor Lewis Cass. And the city of Detroit purchased the island in 1879 and transformed it into a park. Because initially Belle Isle was not used as a place of like for attraction or amusement. It was used for I guess you would say economical purposes, uh especially if livestock was there. So I would assume that's why. and they hired Frederick Law Olmsted, the designer of Central Park, to create a master plan. So as I'm thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I can kind of see that, like an influence, like a somewhat like a Central Park influence with Bilal. And yeah, so it's been here a long time, a long, long time. So um it also was a site of tragedy during Pontiac's rebellion, with the family murdered and captives massacred. Excuse me. And after the War of 1812, General Alexander Macomb Jr. acquired the island and made it his estate. And in 1845, Governor Lewis Cass renamed it Belle Isle. So that is accurate. The city of Detroit purchased the island in 1879, began developing it into a park for the public to access. So as I mentioned before about Frederick Law Olmsted, he was known for widely renowned for designing Central Park. It was commissioned to create a landscape plan for Belle Isle because, like I said before, it was just a place where hogs was roaming around. Pretty much, you know what I'm saying? So eventually, it ended up having areas that were like pretty much like habitat like for animals and stuff, and then you have like for the civilians or the locals and stuff to travel and explore. And yeah, some other places were, yeah, it was just different structures for the public to venture or explore pretty much. So, and yeah, it's a place for recreational activities, as I mentioned in a previous video. People like to go there to barbecue, celebrate, socialize with their loved ones. It could be romantic if you want to take your partner out there for a nice walk, stroll, or picnic or something. Um, it's good for kids because they do have stuff for children and stuff like that, activities and all that. And yeah, it's a pretty cool place, but it's also an urban park, so it's very urban. I just want to point that out, because it is, part of, it's a big part of Detroit, so everybody from like the neighborhood is going to be there, you know what I'm saying? Detroit is very how would I say, it's a beautiful place, and some people even consider Detroit the Paris of the Midwest, and I would have to agree. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. I love like the scenery is very peaceful. And speaking of the very spiritual side, I would argue and say that yes, it can't, even though it's an urban park, quote unquote, it's very spiritual, relaxing, and it has a lot of purpose for the state of Michigan because it draws a lot of people. It's a hot spot, a tourist spot, attraction, to the state of Michigan. And it actually, is a very interesting place with a very interesting history. So, I wanted to talk about, I don't want to just, talk all about the historical stuff to the point where I'm boring you all, but I just wanted to talk about before it was a park. I want to give that backstory more so you can understand how far this island has come. So yeah, so Barnaby Campbell bought the island from the Macomb family in 1817 for $5,000, a purchase that was confirmed by President Andrew Jackson in 1832, giving Michigan state as a territory at the time. Yeah, because before these places were states, quote unquote, they were considered territories. Okay. And even under the Campo's private ownership, the island became a popular place for Detroiters to have picnics and camp, even without permission. So when Barnaby Campo died in 1845, he left the island to his wife, sons Barnaby Jr. and Alexander, and daughters Emily and Angelique, though for reasons that aren't exactly clear, the official transfer of the property wasn't completed until 1860.